right vessel for me, but that's how this lesson came about. So before we actually start, I just wanted to front load with a couple documents. The blue one that you're getting is the planning log for ESI that I filled out, so we just thought it'd be helpful for you to have a copy of it to reference. And the other document that you're getting are the moves of ESI, which I've also written on the board. A little bit small, but there's 5 of them. So just take a minute to look through this, and I'm going to come around with one more document. And that we went back a day. So you guys are actually back a day, and you've started your DBQ for 9th grade. Because I teach the 10-10 pilot, we have a civics class in English that do some cross-curricular work. So while Brian was teaching the content, I was helping the English class construct their DBQ writing-wise. So you guys all need a little bit of information about the Electoral College and why it should be abolished. So this document is pretty much all the documents in that packet that said why it should be abolished. So read through it and highlight any sentences that you see that support the fact that yes, it should be abolished. So I'm going to pass that around. Still highlighting the documents, but we're going to go ahead and get started. To front load a little bit, if someone wants to raise their hand and just tell me a piece of text that they found in a document supporting that yes, it should be abolished. Correction?
It's undemocratic.
Where does it say that?
In the first one, right, sort of in the middle of that third paragraph.
Okay, so this says the Electoral College is undemocratic.
Yep.
Who else found a line? Abby?
It says it undercuts the basic principle of representative government that one person should have one vote.
Excellent, very good. Another one? Mindy?
Should the Electoral College be abolished? It says that they usually are loyal to the party in their votes, but usually implies that that may not always be the case. So it can be
Excellent.
other.
Very good. And one more, Rachel?
In the timeline, it gives lots of examples where people lost the popular vote, sometimes by a lot, but still won the election.
And I'm really glad that you pointed out the timeline because a lot of people didn't realize that that was a key piece of information you had to interpret what it was telling you. So very good.
It seems to me that the timeline between those two things is the only one that's considered because this is the voice of an author.
Yes.
He says it's undemocratic, that's not exactly proof. But the timeline, if it's correct, seems to offer proof that it didn't agree with the popular vote.
Yes, that's exactly why I put the timeline on there. Very good observations. Okay, so that was yesterday's discussion. We all went home. Great. Okay, so you came in the next morning. Good morning, everyone. How are we doing? So you'll notice that you all have a card that's flipped upside down on your desk. You will get to use it in a couple minutes. Just make sure you don't touch it right now. So I'm going to draw your attention to the board to our schedule and our essential question. The essential question and the purpose for what we're doing today is answering why do we need conclusions and what are the 4 conclusion strategies that you could use. We're working on this today because after the fall writing prompt, we noticed that we are still having difficulties with conclusions. So we're going to work on that before you write your DBQ conclusion tomorrow. So we are going to do a review. We're going to do a matching activity. We're going to analyze a couple conclusions, and then we're going to discuss. So the orange sheet that's on your desk has 4 hints for writing a conclusion. So make sure that you're on that side. And I need a volunteer to read hint number 1 that you could use to conclude. Go ahead, Lynn.
Summarize information. Obviously, buying U.S. savings bonds to save for college expenses is a good idea. They don't cost a lot of money. They are secured by our own government. In fact, they are guaranteed to grow, and they are a tax advantage as well as an investment in your child's future.
Excellent, thank you, Lynn. So the first way that you can conclude is simply by doing a summary, and we talked about this a few days ago when you first received this document. Who would like to remind us of what the second way to conclude would be? Go ahead, Rachel.
Encourage action. Ask your employer about saving for college with U.S. savings bonds. Write U.S. savings bonds for education, Department of the Treasury, Washington, D.C. 20226, or call 1-800-4-US-BOND. This certainly could be the first important step in planning for the future.
Excellent. So this person writing their essay wanted you to do something after you read their paper. They wanted you to call or write to the U.S. savings bonds to encourage you to do something. They're making a call to action. The third, it actually says number 4, but the third hint would be what? Who wants to read that one? Go ahead.
Get emotional. Always make sure the emotion is appropriate to your topic and to the assignment. Example, young children should not suffer. Infants like Stephanie cannot call for help. They need you and they need me. If we recognize neglect, we must speak up.
Excellent. Thank you, Danielle. Can you pick out some of the emotional words that were in that example?
Need,
Good.
suffer, neglect, speak up.
Excellent, very good. So the author in this conclusion used a lot of emotional and loaded language to get you to do something. And the last hint to write a conclusion. Go ahead, Jenny.
Use a quotation. Example, in 1961, President John F. Kennedy encouraged all Americans to ask what you can do for your country. Those involved in Habitat for Humanity asked and found a wonderful answer. Habitat volunteers, like those described in this report, work year-round to improve the lives of their fellow Americans.
Excellent. And who said that quote?
John F. Kennedy.
Great. And so that would be a reliable source if you wanted to use a relevant quote. So if you want to use a quote, just remember that you need to pick a relevant one. You can't just go online and pick any quote. It has to be relevant. So now that we've done a quick review on what we've already learned, go ahead.
I know you addressed it. I don't think I just missed it because I was reading something, but you spoke from number 2. Did you read the one out?
Yep.
What was the one that you left
The
out?
third one, I don't know, Lynn gave me this document and there was 8 of them. And so the third one I just don't think applied to what we were doing. So I tried to pick from that list of 7 a genre or a multitude that could work for both informative and argumentative pieces. So that's why it skipped. So hold on to this orange document because you're going to flip it over in a little while to do our assignment, but that's not till the end. What I would like you to do now is, if anyone has any questions or needs clarification on any of these, please raise your hand now, otherwise we're going to move on. Okay, so now what you get to do is flip your card over, read it, and then draw your attention to the 4 posters around the room. One of them says strategy number 1, summarize using a conclusion starter. Strategy number 2 says provide food for thought through emotional and loaded language. Strategy number 3 on the back wall says end with a relevant and strong quote. And strategy number 4 is on the door that says call to action. After reading your card, you need to pick up a piece of tape and decide which poster your card best fits. Who in here has a star on their card? If you have a star on your card, you need to read the topic and then fill in the rest of the call to action. Yep, whenever you're ready, you can start. You should tape your card to that poster. Oh, for sure. Opportunity to practice. I'm going to show you mine. I left one out on purpose. Mine says all in all, so I'm going to take my tape and stick it to it, and I'm going to choose. This would be strategy number 1, I think. If anyone thinks that they made a mistake after seeing where I put mine, please get up and make your change right now.
Like your card could be more than one.
Some of them are. You need to make your best choice. So if you're happy with where it is, we're going to move on. Okay. So we're going to go around poster to poster and just analyze a few of these conclusion strategies. So the first strategy was that we could summarize using a conclusion starter. The cards that people put up here were in effect to conclude this argument for these reasons, thus, as a result of, all in all. Does anyone disagree that these are correct? So we're looking for conclusion starters, ways to indicate that your reader that you're about to summarize using a conclusion starter.
I think the word thus I mean, I put it up there because it's a conclusion starter, but it means it follows that, and I don't know that a summary. I'm having trouble with like a summary being something that follows that.
I think that'd be a good quotation starter.
Okay.
I thought of it an action. Thus, we must all.
Okay.
Thus.
So something we're following it,
Yeah.
We need
it
to
can
do
be a call
this.
to action.
So, but because I didn't get the star.
All right. It was meant to be a conclusion starter, but I could see how if you wanted it to precede something, it could be a call to action, or it could indicate that you were going to end with a strong or relevant quote. Strategy number 2, providing food for thought through emotional or loaded language. We have stop the violence and stop the hate. Whose card was this? Kara, why did you put this one here?
That's strong and emotional.
Yeah, you're right. What words in that were strong and emotional?
Stop.
Stop.
Violence and hate.
Excellent. Very good.
It's not
All right. And giving the said, ask what you can do for your country. Put this one here. Jenny, how come you knew it went here?
Well, that was the example I just read off of the paper. And we talked about it. But it is
Great. All right, this one. Buddy the Elf once said, the best way to spread Christmas cheer is singing loud for all to hear. Whose was this? Abby, how come you put this one here?
Because it's in quotes because Buddy the Elf said it.
You're right.
And that's a reliable source.
Yes.
It's very relevant. All right, and the last one. In conclusion, maturity levels differ in every individual despite age. Great. How come you put this one here?
Because it is a quote, but I didn't feel like I had emotional or loaded language, so I thought it fit over here.
Yes. And what other attribute does this one have that lets the reader know it's a conclusion?
It has a conclusion starter.
It does, yes. So this would be a great example of combining 2 strategies. All right, and the last one. Babies are helpless and SIDS is preventable. Whose card was this?
It was mine.
Minden, how come you put this here?
I put it there because Sid seemed like something important that people quote.
Okay, still not quite right. Who else knows where it should go?
A call to action.
No.
Summary.
Emotional loaded language.
Thank you, Amber. Why do you think it's emotional and loaded language?
Helpless is a loaded word.
Yes. Yes, very good. And preventable.
And babies.
I was going to say babies are emotional.
Babies
Very
are
good.
a terrible thing.
Okay, great. Minden, why is this one incorrectly placed?
I'm seeing now that the other ones have quotations, which probably would have been helpful. And also, I'm noticing that just because it's an important word, that doesn't mean that it's in a quote, that there's emotional words I should have looked at instead.
Great. Mike, why is this one incorrect?
Well, it's not in quotes, so
Great. Very good. And Gretchen, do you understand why it's incorrect?
I do. Thank you guys.
So, whose card is this?
That was mine.
Yours. Could you move it to the emotional poster, please? All right. Last conclusion strategy. The people that had a call to action did this perfectly. They had a sentence starter and they were to complete it. So this was very good. This person's topic was people should drink more water. So they said, when you drink water, you become more mentally engaged and alert. Drink more water now to max your mind's potential as a student. So, Mike, why did you choose to end that way?
just if it's a call to action, I thought, you know, especially if you're working with kids, that's a good.
Yeah.
Water does keep you mentally
Yeah. You want them to do
alert,
something.
right? So, yeah.
Very good. Okay, the next one was people should spay and neuter their pets. So this one says, if everyone spays their dogs, they can have a positive impact on the control of the dog population. Who wrote this one? Excellent job. Very good. All right, next one. Schools should not enforce uniform policies. And they wrote, if students are forced to wear uniforms, it eliminates student individuality and diminishes student achievement. So it is important that we stand up now and make a change. Who wrote this one? Excellent. Very well done. That's a clear call to action of what you would like us to do. And last one, when people recycle, their simple actions reduce waste that would otherwise wind up in landfills. Which was this? Very well done. So what I'm noticing about all these conclusions over here is that they start with it. If you do this, then this will happen, or when you do this, this will be your result. Sort of like a cause and effect. So you all did a very, very nice job with this. There's one more on here that says, let's enhance America's potential, and it has a very special piece of punctuation at the end. Whose card was this? Emily. Why did you put this one here?
Because let stands for let us. And so I figured we were talking about all of us.
Okay, so you wanted somebody to do something, so you're encouraging them to do that. How many of you in here agree that this might be a call to action? It's okay if you raise your hand. Yeah. Some people I see doing this. The people that were on both sides of the fence, why did you say that? Raise your hand and tell me. Amber?
Because it also fit to the emotional loaded language because yes, potential and America.
And what's the special piece of punctuation at the end? Exclamation point. Very good. So this one would be an emotional one because that's a very special piece of punctuation that indicates we need to do something very special. Okay, it also could be a call to action, but is there a better piece of punctuation, or could we finish it differently to be a call to action?
Maybe by stating what that potential might be or look like, how we could get there.
So finish that. Let's enhance America's potential
By not electing Scott Walker again.
There you go. Oh, okay. So I'm going to leave it here since Gretchen did give us a call to action. However, it also could be an emotional food for thought. Okay? Great. Any questions? Everyone look up front. Turn your eyes to the front. Thank you. Great. So now that you've done this activity on your own and you've had a chance to share with a partner, we're going to discuss as a whole group. There's a couple people in here that I heard that had really great answers, so if I shoulder tapped you or came over to you, please be prepared to share that in just a little while. So the same document that you have, I have up in front of you. Would someone please just read conclusion number 1 so we can hear it?
Gretchen, you should.
Gretchen, go ahead.
Seems like you could be more.
This apparently would be my writing strap. In my opinion, we should abolish the Electoral College because it is bad. People don't want it, so we should just get rid of it. Like when someone doesn't like something, like the Electoral College. No one needs it anymore.
Thank you, Gretchen. Yeah, nice job.
Yeah, for real, a lot of people.
That was really good.
Yeah.
Okay. After hearing it out loud, I wrote this, so I won't feel bad if you pick it apart. Okay, but I need some help figuring out if I did this correctly. Going through the checklist, raise your hand if you believe this is in Times New Roman.
I have no idea.
If you were in my class, you would know this was Calibri, because I hate Calibri. I can spot it from a mile away. So, good
Oh,
job.
wait, I guess I should know because it says right at the top of the screen.
Okay. Looking at this, raise your hand if you believe it's double spaced. Good. Raise your hand if you believe it is professional in using academic language. Gretchen, why do you say that?
Well, it didn't have the word I, but then after talking with my partner Lynn, we figured that in my opinion was an I statement.
Very good. And why is
At
it?
first I thought it was professional.
And then you changed your mind after talking with Lynn.
Correct.
Excellent. Go ahead.
Well, I think most of it's not academic, but I do think the abolish that you're using, that's a really good, strong academic
Oh,
word.
thank you. I appreciate that. That makes me feel good. Okay, so it does have in my opinion. If I took out in my opinion and just started with we should abolish, does that make it better immediately? Yeah, that would be much better. Okay. Is it an appropriate length to conclude all of your information? Raise your hand if you think that's true. It's very short. It's way too short. Your DBQ has 3 body paragraphs and an intro, so this would not be sufficient enough to conclude with. Very good. Raise your hand if you saw a conclusion strategy. Minden, which one did you see?
I thought it had some emotional language. So I thought it was basic emotional language that didn't really make me fired up, but I felt like the writer was fired up.
Okay.
Because it identified something as bad and then said, just get rid of it, and then it ended with no one needs it,
Great.
which made it feel a little emotional to me.
Yeah. Very good. Yeah, there was a couple emotional loaded language, pieces of loaded language. Okay. Does it have a counterclaim? Raise your hand if you think it has a counterclaim. No. Very good. And we need to have a counterclaim so that the person reading it doesn't feel like you're pushing your ideas on them. They need to feel like they have the freedom to choose which side they would like to believe. Go ahead.
I thought that it had maybe a call to action. Am I right or wrong?
What was the call to action you saw?
We should abolish the Electoral College.
That is a call to action. Very good. So there was a conclusion strategy, possibly too. Great. So, in your opinion, overall, even though it had a couple of conclusion strategies, put a thumbs up if you think, yes, this was my good conclusion, or a thumbs down if you think, or a thumbs up if you think this was my good conclusion. Put a thumbs up now if you think this was my bad conclusion. Very good. You all did a very nice job. Okay. So now we're going to look at the second conclusion. Would somebody be willing to just read this out loud verbatim?
What does verbatim mean?
Would somebody be willing to read? Andy, go ahead.
Although the Electoral College is in place to help balance the popular vote, the Electoral College is overall undemocratic. To conclude this argument, there are three main reasons to abolish the Electoral College. Americans should have a say in who their president is. Americans shouldn't be penalized based on the size of their state. And the Electoral College hurts third-party candidates. If every American got on board to abolish the Electoral College, America would transform into the country our founding fathers intended it to be.
Excellent, you did a very nice job. All right, let's go through this checklist again. Put your thumbs up if you believe that this is entitled enrollment.
It doesn't say that at the top of the screen. So.
It does not, but you should recognize it at this point. Thumbs up if you think it's double-spaced. Great, doing good so far. Thumbs up if you believe it's professional in using academic language and avoids phrases like I think, I feel, I believe. Great. All right, is it an appropriate length to conclude all of the information we learned in the documents? Good. Does it use any conclusion strategies? Great. And does it address the counterclaim? Excellent. All right. Who wants to tell me the conclusion strategy that they did highlight? There might be more than one. Rachel, go ahead.
I saw a summary with a conclusion starter.
Okay. Can you read that sentence?
To conclude this argument, there are three main reasons to abolish the Electoral College.
Good. Great. What other conclusion strategies did you see? Gretchen?
Call to action.
Where's the call to action?
If every American got on board to abolish the Electoral College, America would transform into the country our founding fathers intended it to be.
Great. And Amber, I shoulder tapped you to share your idea.
Which one? Well, I thought it was that one.
It was that one. Did you say something about the emotional language?
Oh yeah, there's emotional language.
Oh, okay. So combine two strategies. What's the emotional language?
right. Well, because the last sentence is a call to action and it also has emotional language.
What emotional language do you see?
Abolish, founding fathers, America is
Yes.
a big emotional.
Yes.
Yeah.
Very good. Any other conclusion strategies that you highlighted or words?
Emotional language.
Where did you see that?
Penalized.
Very good.
It gives a very negative connotation on that one.
I
Yes.
just kind of feel like the word undemocratic is
Yes.
emotional
Yeah.
language.
And you know what? I saw the word undemocratic in one of the documents, and I really liked that word, so I wanted to use it in my paper too.
What about quoting? I'm just kind of curious, like, if you're taking it from that source and he used that word, wouldn't you need to quote them?
I don't know. Now I'm stuck as an English teacher. What do you guys think?
Well,
it wasn't a direct
Lynn
quote.
and I did talk about this too,
Yeah.
that perhaps the quote was used earlier in, and then because it's just one word from the
It is a
quote,
summary.
you wouldn't do that down there. You know, we haven't seen the whole paper,
That's
so
true.
perhaps that quote was pulled somewhere else.
Mike, go ahead. Thank you, Gretchen.
And also, it's just any time you're talking about the electoral college, I think undemocratic for an argument against it is going to be a general enough term. That's not
Yeah.
based, that specific quote, I don't think is
Right.
necessarily
Excellent.
the, kind of like the precedent for it.
Excellent. Anyone else have any thoughts?
I went back to look at where that word came from to see if the original person said overall undemocratic or just undemocratic. I feel like if it were two words, then it's a phrase that's borrowed, but just one word like that, that's probably general knowledge.
So awesome overnight.
Yeah.
Okay, so everyone give me a thumbs up if you believe this was the well-written conclusion for my DDQ. Oh, thank you. Okay, great. So make sure your name is on this because I'm going to be collecting it for participation. Now what you should do for the remainder of the hour is open up your DDQ and start your conclusion. The document that you have has 4 conclusion types on the back. Also, the posters are around the room and will be coming around to help you. And that ends the lesson.